Hi, I'm Marnie Lifshin. I'm a marketing communications consultant, an author, and a speaker. And we're going to talk today a little bit about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is personal brands. You know, as a marketing professional, I've always been fascinated by the way that brands impact consumers. And about 10 or 15 years ago, this idea of taking that brand, which most of us associate with consumer goods, right? Taking that concept of brand and applying it to people really became a mainstay in our professional environment. It started when a marketing guru named Tom Peters wrote an article for Fast Company magazine, and the title of that article was "The Brand Called You." It was targeting entrepreneurs, and the idea was basically, whether you know it or not, you also have a brand, just like cars and computers and cola, right? And so the important thing is to learn to evaluate and embrace and adapt your brand to make it into a career asset. So why are personal brands so important? Well, the reality is brands evoke very strong impressions, opinions, and feelings. So it's very subjective in nature. And the interesting thing is we form opinions about brands even if we haven't purchased or personally encountered a brand ourselves. And the thing that about brands that's important to realize is it's not so much about the product as it is how people react to the product. And in this case, the product is you. So when I first began talking with professionals about this concept of personal brands, I looked everywhere for a really good definition so that I could tell people this is what a personal brand is. And I couldn't find one that I liked. So I started thinking about how I work with professionals and what I explain to them in terms of what a personal brand is and why it matters so much. And for me, a brand is how you answer the question, what do I want to be known for? If you really stop and think about that, it's a pretty powerful question, right? What do I want to be known for? So that if somebody that I've worked with, or a client, or a customer, or a friend is asked about me, what do I want them to say? What do I want them to describe me as being? And it's really a terrific way to begin to build a really strong reputation for yourself. So think about how you would answer that question. What do I want to be known for? And I'm going to give you a tip. It has nothing to do with your title. It has nothing to do with your degree. It really doesn't even have that much to do with your impression, because personal brands are built on experiences and they're built on perception. What people will remember about you is what the experience in working with you, in knowing you, in interacting with you was like for them. So let me give you an example. Let's say you hire a graphic designer because you need a new website for your organization or your company, or even a personal website for yourself. And the end product was excellent. You were very satisfied and very happy with your new website. But the process in getting there was very difficult. Let's say the designer was late all the time, didn't meet deadlines, went a little bit over budget. You had to tell him the same thing over and over. He would cancel meetings with only a few minutes notice. It was overall very frustrating. Now the end product you're happy with, but if somebody called you and said, hey, I'm thinking about hiring Bob to redo my company's website, what are you going to say? What are you going to remember? You might start off by saying, yeah, you know, I'm happy with my website, but, and then you're going to talk about your experience and the perception that you built based on that experience. And then this individual that's considering hiring Bob is going to build his perception of that designer's brand based on the other guy's experience. So it's really important to realize that all those so-called soft skills, the interpersonal skills, the communication skills, how easy you are to work with, how likable you are, those are a huge, huge part of your personal brand. And that's really what people are going to remember. It's also important to realize that personal brands must be three things in order to be truly effective and to truly be a tool in your own arsenal. The first is it must be authentic. You have to be you. What I do suggest is that you learn to turn the volume up a little bit or turn the volume down a little bit. Make some tweaks to your brand, but you have to be you. So if you are a naturally very outgoing, gregarious leader, that's part of your brand. But you may need to turn it down a little bit in order to not be overbearing. If on the other hand, you're more of a behind the scenes person, you're quieter, you're more thoughtful, you're more deliberate, you may need to learn to turn the volume up a little bit so people really see you as competent and that you don't just kind of blend into the background, so to speak. And that leads us to the second thing a good personal brand must be. It must be distinct. And quite frankly, this is the one that I think people struggle with the most. I don't think a lot of people have really good or really bad brands. I think most of us fall in the middle. And the problem is when you don't stand out from everybody else. When you really do kind of get blurred in with everyone else, you do blend into the wallpaper. So you have to learn to look at what your greatest assets are as a professional, what the strongest components of your personality really are, and put those to the forefront of your brand. At the same time, identify your weaknesses and learn how to put those in the background of your brand. But the most important thing is in order for you to be memorable, you must have a distinct brand. You don't want an influencer in your career or in your life to be talking about you and everyone else who may or may not know you say, wait, who are you talking about? Have I met her? Does she work here? That's the absolute worst when it comes to a personal brand. The third element that a personal brand must have is consistency. And I think as busy professionals, we all struggle with this a little bit, right? It's hard to be thinking about your brand, but it is important that we are consistent in our personal life and in our professional life with our brand, with what we're known for, right? And I think that it's important that we think consistently about our brand so that it's not something that we don't think about and we look up and we haven't really paid any attention to how we're being perceived, to whether or not we're in front of our influencers for the last several years. Personal brands have many elements really, including, of course, physical elements. And everyone gets a little uncomfortable talking about this because we all want to live in a society where you are not judged by your looks. In fact, you are judged by the content of your character, right? And I think ultimately that is absolutely true. But study after study after study shows that the first impression is the impression that people put the most importance on. And so my argument is, why would you want to give a external impression that holds you back? It's important that you have a physical appearance that is an asset. You must be professional. You must be well groomed. You must look modern. You must look like you're working in 2013, not 1984, right? You have to look like you're a part of today's business society. So all of those external factors do matter, and you can't simply brush that aside and say, well, it's not really matter what people look like, because it is a part of your brand, like it or not. I think communication style is critical. Oftentimes, we are judged on the way that we communicate. So if, for example, you do tend to be more reserved and you get to the point and you speak quietly and you say what you need to say in very few words, you may think that you're being very direct and to the point and not wasting time. But you might be being perceived as unfriendly or combative or not particularly connecting with other people. If on the other side you tend to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and you think out loud while you're talking and it takes you forever to get to the point, that's just part of who you are. You might be thinking, this is just my personality, when in fact that could actually hurt you because people may think that you're unorganized or unprofessional or flighty or ditzy. So your communication style absolutely can affect your professional relationships, and it absolutely can affect your personal brand. So you need to look at that as one of the components that you can easily improve with a little bit of skills training. Your network is a big part of your brand. Let's face it, you're judged by the company that you keep. So if you would like to be perceived as a particular type of professional, say a leader in your field, a leader in your industry, you need to surround yourself with people that already have that reputation. So look at your network as a potentially important part of your brand. And your visibility is crucial. You can work all you want on your brand, but if the people that have the ability to influence your career to help your business or your organization, if they don't see it, that's not going to help you at all. So once you've identified what your brand is and you've adapted it to make sure that all of your strengths are at the forefront, you need to stay visible with the people in your environment, in your community, that really can say, wow, that's one really sharp professional and I want to get to know them better. So that visibility is a key part. I really encourage you to take some time to evaluate your own personal brand. Look more into it. Is this something that you just haven't paid enough attention to? Because if you do, if you learn what it is and you grow it to become that asset that we've talked about, it can really help you to achieve your goals. Thanks again for joining me.